The Bears have got to get Justin Fields out there. You got to. Didn't look pretty when he went out there because Andy Dalton got hurt against the Cincinnati Bengals. As a matter of fact, there was an interception that made it a game. Okay? It made it a game. He made a terrible mistake, and it almost cost the Bears, but Joe Burrow threw 3 interceptions on 3 consecutive passes, which shows you he's still going through it. Going into a place like Chicago, you got to learn. You got to take your knocks, and you will get better. Now, what happens? Could he be hurt? Could he be destroyed? Could his career be over? Well, obviously, you don't want him to get hurt, and you don't want him to get totally demoralized. But you drafted him for a reason, and you got to get these knocks in. And again, kudos to Matt Nagy for sticking to whatever he thinks he should be sticking to. We're not in a meeting room. We're not in a film room. We're not in a locker room. He is. But as I told him, when he was on this show after drafting Justin Fields, all of that that's taken into account by a coach as he's trying to grow the seedling into a beautiful garden. How was that for imagery?
Nice.
Thank
I like it.
That at some point you will not have the luxury. You gotta throw him out there. Dalton gets hurt. It might be this coming week against Cleveland after all that we said, like get him in against the Rams, because Myles Garrett is just as much or close to a grown-ass man as Aaron Donald. You got to get him up to speed. Now, Dalton, it appears, does not have the dreaded ACL injury, but he does have a knee injury. Is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be Andy Dalton? What if Dalton is hurt? Obviously, the guy's going to start. But what if he's healthy? The question was put, I think, by Brad Biggs of the Bears media conglomerate, or the covers the Bears there in Chicago, of Matt Nagy about an hour ago.
If Andy's healthy, is he your starter?
If Andy is healthy, is he your starter? That's something that I'm not going to get into with scheme.
That's not scheme.
Of course it is. That's 100% scheme, Brad.
With a smile on his face.
Scheme.
Here's the scheme. Of course, because Dalton, his way of scheme is that the scheme for Dalton is going to be radically different than the scheme for Justin Fields. Or his scheme is he wants to keep it to himself. Depends on the type of scheme. And then Bears PR just came into the media room to deliver a message from Matt Nagy. Brad Biggs tweeting out, Andy Dalton is the team's starting quarterback when he is healthy. OMG. I'm telling you, the lid's already on a boiling pot there. They want to see this kid. What's going on? The longer he doesn't play, the question's going to be, what's wrong with the kid? Because Trevor Lawrence has just lost 2 games in a row for the first time since May. Well, I mean, probably in anything in his life, like cards, jacks, however you want. Has he lost at 2 games in anything?
Flip cup.
I don't know, right? Flip cup.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I don't know.
Quarters.
Maybe. Zach Wilson is getting booed in his home debut. Okay? That doesn't happen. That's probably the first time that's happened to him in his life. Okay? Mac Jones, though, just went into New York and played New Jersey and just played a boring game. Guess who's got to win? Guess who looks like he's getting it?
It was boring, though. It was really boring.
Doesn't matter, though. You're winning. You've come up with a W. You're 1-1.
That's all that
Difference
matters.
between 0-2 and 1-1 and making the playoffs, like I told you, is 30%. Jets now have an 11% chance on average of making the playoffs. Patriots, 41%. And they're tied for first. And the team that just beat them might not have Tua for a while.
That's true.
We'll get that update on his ribs later on. Boring's good, but you got to also get your kid out there and let him take his lumps. boy, though, I mean, Nagy sticking to his guns. If he starts Andy Dalton against Cleveland, if Dalton is healthy enough to start against Cleveland.
Yeah, what does that tell you?
It tells you he is consistent with what he told us
Way back.
in May.
Yeah.
I was there when Alex Smith played and Patrick Mahomes watched. I was there. And then yada, yada, yada. And that's what he said the plan was for this year. And he's sticking to the plan like Coach Dale with 4 of his Hickory kids on the floor. And the fans are going nuts. His response that it's just scheme. It's not scheme. It's a starting quarterback. Well, X's and O's, it is scheme. Dalton's scheme for the Bears offense, radically different than Justin Fields' scheme. Not getting into scheme. Well, it's not scheme. It's about what the fans want. Right. That's the id talking.
Yeah.
And that's what's at play right now in Chicago. And what we're seeing amongst us in the Patriots and the Jets. My kid's taking his lumps. His kid is taking his wins and headbutting Kendrick Bourne in the process. And they're loving it. I'd rather, of course, have what he's got than what I'm getting or what the Niners are getting, which is something not pretty on the road, 2-0. And at some point, Trey Lance will be unwrapped, fully and completely. And you got a head coach who's got the ability to make it all kind of work. And that's and also the ability to hear from people saying, what are you doing? And him saying, I'll let you know what I'm doing on my own damn time because I got management behind me and I got a track record. And Kyle Shanahan. And that is your rookie update through 2 weeks in the NFL 2021. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.